to the flag of the United States of America, followed by our Texas flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor
the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. We want to thank all of you for coming. And we are looking forward to you remaining active throughout the special session of the legislature, because that's what it's going to take, public school people. It's going to take all of you. What we're going to start with this morning is we are very, very blessed to have some representatives here with us. I want to especially thank Dr. Gary Van Dever, who is a state representative. He represents Bowie, Red River, Lamar, and Franklin County. So let's thank Dr. Van Dever for being here. His assistant, Trish Conrad, is also here. We would also like to recognize Courtney Smith of Senator Brian Hughes' office and thank her for being here. We also have Shannon Chris, who is representing our U.S. Congressman Louis Gohmert. Sharon Williamson is representing our local Gregg County representative, Jay Dean, who is actually, I'm going to speak for him, he's on a trip with his grandchildren. And he sends his regrets. Sydney Stillman is also representing Jay Dean's office. We're very fortunate to have a slate of speakers today who have something important to say to you, including the director of the State Texas Teachers Retirement, TRTA Association, Texas Retired Teachers Association, Tim Lee. But we're going to open with Judge Stout, and I need to make this clear to all of you. You would not be here today if it weren't for Gregg County Judge Bill Stout. Whose wife is a retired teacher of 30 years. Judge Stout has served Gregg County since 2003. His wife is Suzanne. As I said, taught for 30 years. He has a daughter who is a veterinarian. He is one of the founders of our local Boys and Girls Clubs of East Texas. In 2013, he was chosen as Statesman of the Year by the East Texas Council of Governments. And I would vote him Statesman of the Year every year if I could. He has received a Leadership Circle Platinum Award from the Texas Comptroller's Office for excellence and transparency. And with a background in journalism, I can tell you that's not a common thing. So we are very, very proud of Judge Bill Stout, and here he is to speak to you now.
Thank you, Suzanne. Welcome to your courthouse. We gather here today to support the teachers and education. Just like so many politicians, artists, astronauts, entrepreneurs, scientists, and surgeons, and myself could not be the people they are today without teachers. I'm going to digress a little bit because I think it's kind of an interesting story, but it's got a point to it. You ask anyone Was there a teacher in your life that made a difference? Most people will have that teacher's name at the tip of their tongue. For me, I had really two teachers, the one I'm going to talk about and my wife. But Miss Peacock, I was in the 3rd grade, and I was watching some of my friends make spitballs and throw them against the roof when the teacher turned her back. And I'd never done that, but I thought it was kind of neat, so I thought I'd do it. Lo and behold, she turned around about the time I did it. And she walked over to where I was sitting, and she looked at me, and she asked if she could have a word with me out in the hall. But back then, she went by her desk to get something out of that drawer before she took me out in the hall. My point to all this is this. That instant right there began the journey for a teacher to teach me about consequences, about making decisions, the wrong and the right. She taught me how to read. She taught me how to write. She taught me things that she didn't realize, especially when she was standing over my desk with both her hands on her hip, asking me to go outside. But on a serious note, it is you who listen to our children, who challenge them, and who encourage them to stand up for their values and to do the right thing. Teachers will educate our future leaders on the importance of the Constitution. Show the next Van Cliburn how to tickle the keys on a piano, and ignite a spark in that bright young student's mind, who might just be the one who cures cancer. But we have a problem. Teacher attrition rates are way too high, and given that you are the builders of our future, losing even one good teacher is one too many. Having been married to a 30-year veteran, a retired teacher, I've seen firsthand the excitement, the gratification, and the disappointments that come with a career in teaching. I also have 2 nieces who are teachers and are going through the same trials that my wife did. However, I'm here today to say thank you. Thank you, teachers of Gregg County. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you from the state of Texas. It is you here today that will come up with new and inventive ideas to make our children the best and the brightest in the nation. We can do much better because we have the best teachers in the country. This is the time for you to get creative, to problem solve skills that I know you all have, and get some answers back to Austin. They're anxious to hear from you. Give them fresh ideas, inventive solutions, so both you and our children can benefit. All teachers deserve our respect and support. I thank you for this invitation to speak with you today. I thank you for allowing me to be here. And I thank you for everything you've done for our children in the great state of Texas. God bless America, God bless Texas, and God bless Gregg County. Thank you.
Obviously, we want to find out who's here today. So, whether you are a or were a bus driver, a classroom teacher, a custodian, or a secretary, we want you to know that what you do and what you did matters. And we're here to tell you that you matter. The pro-education rally is being held before the special session to send this message, that you matter. See, y'all are so used to being good teachers and good custodians and good cafeteria workers, and don't even know how to celebrate yourselves. Let me remind you of this. You are the largest voting bloc in the state of Texas. Let me remind you of this. 1 in 20 Texans are a member of the Texas retirement system, and teachers and public school employees vote. We've got to begin using our teacher voices, people. Okay, we've got to stand together for ourselves, and we've got to stand for the retirees, and we've got to stand for the teachers and these public school employees in the system right now. My name is Suzanne Bardwell. I'm a retired teacher of 33 years. I taught high school. But I want to know who you are. So you're going to use your banners, you're going to use your signs, you're going to use your hands, and you're going to use your loud voices to answer when I ask who you are. Do we have any current or past school board members with us? Please raise your hand, shout, stand up, let us know you're here. Thank you, school board members. Superintendents, I know I have some of my most favorite superintendents in the whole Northeast area here. Superintendents, stand up, raise your hand, raise your sign, and let us know you're here. Okay, and how about those guys and gals that are in the trenches with the rest of us every day in the ditches throughout our careers? Principals, active and retired, where are you? Thank you. All right, some of my favorite people, and frankly, I don't know how they do or did their jobs. The lunch ladies, the bus drivers, the custodians. And of course, somebody whose phone number I could wear out really fast, the maintenance workers. How about our counselors and school nurses? Okay, now let's all be honest. We know who kept us in line, and it wasn't the superintendent, it wasn't the school board, and it wasn't the principal. We're the secretaries and receptionists and registrars. Finally, teachers, if you are a classroom teacher, let's hear it from you. Thank you for your passion. Now we're going to hear from somebody who's very special to all of us, who fights for you whether you know it or not, day in and day out, lobbying in the legislature. And that is Tim Lee. And if you don't know Tim Lee, you need to get to know Tim Lee. In 2004 is when he was hired to be our executive director of the Texas Retired Teachers Association. Now, all you active people, let me hear from the actives out there. Every single one of you better join TRTA, or your voice is not going to be heard. Okay? I'm going to say that just in case nobody else says it. Tim Lee, I'm hoping you'll say it. We've got 80,000 members in TRTA, and that's the largest organization of its kind in the nation, and we need to make our voice heard. Tim is working tirelessly for us, and he's going to talk to us right now. Please welcome Tim Lee.
Good morning. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to say, and it may seem strange, is that any of y'all sitting in the sun over here, there is no reason that you cannot come up here and sit on this platform and get out of the sun over here, George or Carol. If y'all want to just, I mean, come on, we're a happy family. Just get up here and move out of the sun. There's some water over here too. I don't want anybody, you know, passing out today, unless it's because we're cheering so loud. So first of all, I want to declare, probably before anybody else has a chance, that the educator sleeping giant is finally awake. I am not a teacher, but I have 4 kids in public schools. And I lived in a state where teachers did not get treated very well. And I've moved to a state where I'm beginning to wonder if they're treated even more poorly than the state that I lived in before. And for the life of me, I don't know why. Other than we are too afraid to use our own power when the time is right to use it. And now is the time. Now is the time to use our power. I spent 6 months in the Texas legislature begging and pleading for more money for a health care program for our retired teachers. You may not know this, but 95% of our school districts do not pay into the Social Security system. There are more than 1 million active school employees in Texas, and there are more than 330,000 retired teachers retired. As of today, right now, 110,000 school employees are eligible to retire. Where would the families of Texas be if the most experienced teachers among us decided to walk out of the classroom today because they're sick and tired of how we are being treated by folks in the legislature who have the power to make a difference? I want to be very clear. There are some in the legislature who couldn't care less about you being here today. And there are some that have been waiting for y'all to rise up like you are today. And I know this person right over here personally. He is one of us. He needs to know, Gary Van Dever needs to know that when he takes votes in the legislature, when he stands up in front of the front mic or in the back mic and he's defending teachers, that when he goes home, he's not going to be primaried and voted out for standing up for teachers. That's what we need to do. That is political courage. You will find out that legislators will be able to take a stand when they know that active teachers are going to vote in the primary. In Texas, the primaries matter more than any other election there is. The general election is almost the after show. You have to show up in the primary. You have to know who is going to vote for you when you are asking them to vote for you. It is not easy to ask for money in the legislature. I know. I asked the Texas Senate Finance Committee in February to triple the funding to the retired teachers' health insurance program. And I never take notes with me to do a presentation. But today, I am going to read you a quote from a senator just so I get it right. These are not my words. Give me just half a second to get this right. See, I'm just never prepared to do this. In response to Lee's testimony, Senator Huffman replied, "I don't see anything offhand where you are offering a solution that's better or different than what we have come up with. You keep saying shared pain. But I looked at these numbers again from the teacher retirement system and the legislative budget board, and in the last 2 sessions, we have supplemented the fund almost $1 billion. Huffman continued by saying that the state did their part of the pain, and that platitudes don't solve this problem. Platitudes? Platitudes? The system is out of money because the legislature has decided to keep the same level of funding for your retired teachers' health insurance program since 2003. And that level of funding is based on how much teachers get paid. The question is, which is going up faster? The price of health care or how much teachers get paid? If we're basing the amount of money that we're going to have to pay for the health care for our retired teachers on how much teachers get paid, there's no reason to explain it other than we don't have enough money. Healthcare costs go up faster. And when I am sitting by myself in a chair and staring up at the committee and asking for money, and the response is, I don't see anything here that's going to solve the problem. We've already taken on our share of the pain. Now it's your turn to pay. Well, we got it. We got it. Retired teachers now have a completely different healthcare system than what we've had for the last 30 years. In a meeting just yesterday I had with some folks who are working with the governor's office, I had a discussion about how we created this plan in 1986, and the only constant for retired teachers on their health insurance program since 1986 is that active teachers have always paid. That is the most consistent form of funding that has existed for the retired teachers health insurance program, and that is that active teachers are paid. As active teachers, you probably don't know that a certain portion of your salary is paying for health care for retired teachers. And someday when you retire, you should have the expectation that I will have some level of health care. And that level of health care shouldn't be, I don't think I can afford to go to the doctor, so I'm going to skip it because I have to pay for my medicine instead. If you're under the age of 65, come January 1st, you will have a $3,000 deductible for your health care. The first dollar coverage for everything in your health expenditure is going to be on you as a retiree. The average teacher retirement system monthly annuity is $2,000 a month. That level of funding is not going to be sufficient to pay for medical care. The Senate approached this issue this last session by saying, let's see how much we can cut the program and then we'll talk about funding. The Texas House approached this situation this last session by saying, let's put our money where our mouth is first by taking money out of the state rainy day fund, put that money in the solution, and then we'll talk about change. No equivocation, no discussion about it at all. $500 million out of the state rainy day fund, $12 billion in the economic stabilization fund, and the Texas House said, let's take some of that money, let's use it, let's not make this so painful for the retirees. What we ended up with, because of the House's leadership and ultimately the Senate beginning to say, you know what, I think this is going to be too painful, we have a program where it's still a high deductible plan for folks that are going to be under the age of 65. If you're retiring in the next year and you did not hear one thing about how your health insurance has changed, let me tell you, you probably want to stay working. I have had hundreds of retired. What we ended up with, because of the House's leadership and ultimately the Senate beginning to say, you know what, I think this is going to be too painful, we have a program where it's still a high deductible plan for folks that are going to be under the age of 65. But this is a new day and age of politics, folks, and people just pretty much say whatever is on their mind. And I'm going to tell you what the question is, and that question kind of cuts right to the heart of the issue. When the legislature put in place the changes that retired teachers and active teachers who are soon going to be retired, when they put those changes into effect for us, did they write a new law that said, as a legislator, I'll take the retired teachers' health insurance program? I didn't have to ask the question. I didn't have to ask the question because the retired teachers and the active teachers, they've been asking it. And the answer to that is no. We have a program for our teachers and our retired teachers where we are being disadvantaged by being an employee for the state of Texas in our public schools. And as a parent with 4 kids in public schools, 2 of which have dyslexia issues, I want the best teachers in our schools. 4 years ago, I came to the Longview ISD convocation. More than 1,500 employees, I think, were there that day. Statistics tell me that more than half of those people are now out of education. I went and talked to the new teachers before I went and talked to everybody. And I sat there with a group of some of the best and brightest new, young teachers who are in this profession not to get rich, but to help kids. And 50% of those new teachers are now gone. We lose 45,000 school employees in Texas a year. Active school employees, gone. For a lot of reasons. One of them is pay. One of them is fear that our school funding is going to be vouchered out. A lot of it is because of healthcare costs. My school district, Dripping Springs, participates in TRS Active Care. And that health insurance is garbage. We are not properly funding health insurance for teachers. We cannot have our teachers earning just enough to pay their health care premiums. We can't be teachers if we can't afford the cost of living. As a taxpayer in Texas, teachers pay more for health care costs than any other taxpayer around. I have been in a witness chair in numerous committees where someone on the other side, the elected official on the other side, has said teachers are not state employees. I don't want to argue that. I'm not going to argue that. What I'll argue is that if you're a teacher, you're paying your own health care premiums. If you're a teacher, you're paying into the teacher retirement system. The teacher retirement system receives no state dollars to fund itself as an agency. All of the 400 employees that work for your teacher retirement system are employed because you pay for it out of your pension fund. Not one taxpayer dollar goes to pay to run one of the biggest state agencies in the state of Texas. You pay for it. So your contributions to your teacher retirement system pay for those salaries for those employees. You also pay for their contributions to the employees' retirement system. You also pay for their contributions to their health insurance fund. A health insurance program that when those folks retire from TRS are going to get free health insurance, and 50% of their spousal coverage is going to be subsidized by your tax dollars, by your teacher dollars. As an educator, you're paying for your retired teacher health insurance. As a teacher, you're paying for legislators to go to Austin. As a teacher, you're paying for judges as a taxpayer. As a teacher, you're paying to fully subsidize all state employees' health insurance costs. As a teacher, you're paying to subsidize the cost of health insurance for our elected officials. I have absolutely no problem, and I would stand up here and I will defend our elected officials. I am not one to attack. Being in Austin for 140 days or more is pain. At one time, I thought I was going to be an elected official, and I've decided, no, not for me. We need good elected officials. We want them to serve. I have no problem with them having health insurance benefits when they retire. I have no problem with them receiving a defined benefit plan when they retire. What I have a problem with are some of the elected officials that have a problem with you having those things. I am sick and tired of the double standard. And the double standard only exists because there are some folks who think that you will not show up and vote. That is what it is all about. And it is about time that we stand up to the people who file bills that will take away your teacher retirement system defined benefit plan. There are bills that were filed this last session that'll say retired teachers, active teachers, especially active teachers, you don't need a defined benefit plan. We know you don't pay into Social Security, but wouldn't you rather be rich by taking your own contributions without any form of retirement safety net, taking those dollars and let somebody else invest them for you just so they can earn commissions on those investments. It's all about the money. Right now, you're paying about $75 a year for the teacher retirement system to manage your money. There is only one company in Texas that makes more money than your teacher retirement system pension fund. It's called ExxonMobil. Your teacher's pension fund earns about $10 million an hour in interest. I don't know of any other safer place for your money to be than the teacher retirement system in Texas. So when somebody like Paul Bettencourt, a senator out of Houston, files a bill that says, let's get rid of the teacher retirement system for our active teachers, I think not only do we want to say no, we need to say hell no. From Longview to El Paso, from Gainesville to South Padre, teachers everywhere need to wake up. And today in Longview, let it be known that you are the ones ringing the alarm bell. That you are the ones standing up for what is going to have to be the new normal. The normal, well, teachers are going to say, you're going to treat us with respect or you're fired. We have a 30-day special session. Now's the time. Call your legislators. If they support teachers, you support them. If they support more money for your health care, you support them. If they say, well, we've got a C, that's a no. That's a no. Bravery and courage is so much easier when 1.3 million people are standing up with us. Today's the day. I am so glad that you are here. I am grateful. I'm encouraged. And I'm ready to work for each and every one of you. But I cannot do it by myself. Gary Van Dever cannot do it by himself. We have to stand together. I heard somebody from Louis Gohmert's office. I've been in Louis Gohmert's office. I asked for the repeal of the government pension offset and the windfall elimination provision. I don't think there's a single Texan that would say, stop the Washington gridlock, end the ridiculous, unfair provisions known as the government pension offset and the windfall elimination provision, because if you're not going to treat us right in Washington, D.C., we're coming after you too. Today's the day. They go into session next week. 30 days. We got to make a difference. I'm for you. Let's work together. God bless Texas. I'll see you in Austin. Thank you so much.
Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, but the person put in charge of the commission to look at our pension, isn't he a former Enron executive?
This guy's name is Josh McGee. Josh McGee is a former Enron employee who was appointed by the governor to head what is called the Pension Review Board. The Pension Review Board is a board that is to set the standards for how well the pension systems are going to be run, and now he's going to try and put a grading system on your pension fund. Your pension fund is about 82% funded. That means we have 82 cents of every dollar needed to fund retirement benefits, not for anybody in this audience, but for everybody who just started teaching this year. So when you start with 82 cents of every dollar and then you have another 30 years to make up the other 18 cents difference, you're in a pretty healthy position. The only thing that will make your teacher retirement system be in a weak and poor position are weak-kneed elected officials who are going to be bought and sold by folks that are more interested in making sure that people can make money off of you than protecting your pension fund. That is what's going to happen if we let folks like Josh McGee set the standard for saying your pension system is not in good financial shape. Your pension system is one of the best pension systems in the country. And it's about time legislators start saying, hey, stop saying so many bad things about our retirement system. Elected officials for the last 77 years have never taken a pension fund holiday. We've done it right. Why are you bad-mouthing something that's working so well? And that's because there are interests out there that are not in the legislature, but there are interests out there that want to make money on the backs of teachers. It's what it is. It's all about how people can make money off of you instead of how you can keep your money for yourself. So we got to stand strong with our elected officials and push back against people like Josh McGee, who works for a think tank called the Texas Public Policy Foundation. His day job is to attack education. His day job is to attack retirement systems around the country, and his government job as a volunteer appointee is to say our pension systems are not performing very well. And as far as I'm concerned, we are going to push back all the time. Thank you so much.
I think we have a new rally cry. Out with Josh. Okay. This week I wrote a newspaper column asking what happened to respect for educators. And that means, when I say educator, I mean everybody from the bus driver to the cafeteria ladies to the teacher in the classroom. Every single school employee. Okay, people, you are all educators. Sometimes, though, we get caught up, and it's easy for us to send a form letter that we get emailed. We've got to tell our story. We need to tell our story for people to be reminded that we are more than test givers judged by our students' results on one given day. So, before our next speaker, I'm going to ask you a few questions again, and I want you to hold up your banners, your signs, your hands in silence in answer to the questions. When I wrote this, we posted something on our Gladewater Mirror Facebook about this rally. And a lady posted, why don't we get a real job? So listen carefully to these questions. Listen carefully to these questions. And elementary people, forgive me, because I can't begin to imagine what your trials and tribulations were. I was just a high school teacher. How many of you have extended your workday to tutor students on your own time before or after school? How many of you paid for your own training or attended workshops and classes on your own time so you could be a better teacher or bus driver or whatever training you were involved in? How many of you have bought from every dad-blame school fundraiser held in the history of the freaking world? Y'all, that's where your additional investment money went. How many Scholastic books do you have in your own library? I know that one. I know that one. That's elementary people for sure. How many of you have bought meals for your students? How many of you have bought school supplies, athletic equipment, band equipment, anything for an extracurricular organization? How many of you have paid for a student, not your child, a student to go on a school trip? I wish y'all would get a real job. How many of you paid at least $500 a year out of your own pocket to outfit your classroom? How many of you paid more than $1,000 a year to supplement your curriculum or outfit your classroom? How many of you spent money that money every single year of your career. Multiply that by 25 to 45 in this group. How many of you have handled the fallout of divorce on your students' emotional and academic performance? It's got to be your teaching, y'all. It can't be societal ills that are causing problems with these kids. What's wrong with you? How many of you have helped a student deal with the death of a parent or sibling or grandparent? How many of you have had a terminally ill student in your classroom? Only you know what that meant. How many of you have dealt with the effects of teen pregnancy with your students? How many of you have tried desperately sometimes? How many of you have tried to intervene with your students who had alcohol or drug problems? How many of you have dealt with the trauma of serious student accidents that affected the entire school? How many of you have dealt with the trauma of a student's suicide? The list is endless. You can't sit in the sun all day, but you know the list is endless, don't you? And people say, get a real job. We're their parents, we're their nurse, we're their counselor. Let me say this clearly. Teachers change lives. Educators change lives at the expense of our pocketbook, our health, our time, and our hearts. You are heroes. You are educators, and you matter. We're going to hear from another one of my favorite. I have a superintendent's hip parade, and we're going to hear from one of our stars now. Longview Independent School District Superintendent Dr. James Wilcox. He's known for his leadership and advocacy. I didn't know him personally, but I heard him speak at a district retiree event, and I was so impressed. He has a huge list of honors, and I'm not going to call them all out. Let's just say he comes highly qualified to speak to you. Dr. James Wilcox.
Thanks, Suzanne. Tim Lee covered just about everything, but I'm going to, as we say in the classroom all the time, I'm going to drill down a little bit. Don't raise your hand on this. How many of y'all voted in the primary the last election cycle? How many of you took your husband with you? How many of them took as many family members as you could find with you? If we don't all do that, we're doomed. Tim said it, and I want to reiterate it again. You can elect anybody you want to any elected office in the state of Texas, from county judge to U.S. congressman to lieutenant governor to state senator. In last year's primary, 1 million votes in the Republican primary set the slate of state office holders. 1 million. With our spouses, we have nearly 3 times that many votes. You are disrespected. Your profession is disrespected. What you've given your life to is disrespected by people out for political gain of the people that fund their campaigns, because they don't think you'll ever do anything about it. And I'm included. My wife is a teacher. My son is in education. I have 2 daughter-in-laws that are. I have 3 nieces that are. I have a nephew that is. My sister is. My sister-in-law is. You haven't done a thing.
Folks, how long ago was that? That's the last time you showed the state of Texas that you have any kind of backbone at all. Folks, if you think somebody is going to come down the road and take care of you one day, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, you're wrong. You don't want to go vote, you don't get active, you don't get involved in campaign, it's too much trouble, you don't have time, you're going to continue to be disrespected. And along with being disrespected, you're going to be awfully poor. The first bill to take away the teacher retirement plan was during George W. Bush's first term as governor. And they've been back every session after then. They're not quitting every session, every session, every session, because we haven't taken a stand. We haven't taken a stand. We haven't let people know we're serious. Those of you sitting out there that didn't vote in the primary last time, there's nobody going to come by and take care of you. As Tim said, the Republican primary is the state election for the state of Texas. That's just it. That might change one day. That's the reality now. There'll be somebody running friendly to us in that primary. You got to go vote. You got to take everybody you know with you to vote. And as long as you don't, I'm going to give you a concrete example. Not my opinion. Special session starting next week, right? 19, I'll call them laundry list items on that agenda. More than, well, a third of them aimed at disrespecting you. Well, we're going to give a $1,000 teacher pay raise. Says nothing about anybody else. But then the devil in that detail is we're going to come up with another career ladder type performance review to base that $1,000 on, and then we're going to make your local district pay for it. And then, you know, my favorite is if the state continues to allow local school districts to withdraw your association dues from your paycheck while allowing police and firemen and every damn body else to do it. If we don't stop teachers from, and our state senator said this in a phone conference yesterday, if we keep allowing that to keep happening, Texas is going to end up just like California. But allowing you to get your association dues deducted from your paycheck somehow is going to have Texas end up just like California, whatever that means. I'm assuming that's negative since I've never left the state of Texas in my whole life. But people buy that and they don't get challenged on it. We have to challenge them. No one is going to do it for us. You get people stand up and say, well, I'm a conservative. I'm a constitutional conservative. I'm for local control. I'm for local values. Well, to the people that are in power right now, anti-big government statutes and laws and statements don't apply to things they want to control. When also in the special session is, and nobody wants to pay taxes, is limiting the taxes that counties and cities and school districts can charge. All right. The fact is that 10 years ago, local school districts paid 45% of the cost of education. The feds paid 10%, and the state of Texas, which is constitutionally charged with providing for the education of every child in the state, paid 45%. Now, 10 years later, and let me assure you that the budget that was just passed gives us more funding per student than we had the last 2 years. Okay? It's there. That's a fact. So now, 10 years later, the state of Texas, and it's going to go down when this current budget's figured in, pays 38% of the cost of education in Texas, while the local communities and the feds pick up 62% of a state constitutionally charged obligation. If you don't stand up, it's going to be less and less from the state. There's going to be more and more, and every voucher bill is just an attempt to take money away from you. And if you think your teacher retirement health insurance is going up now, why do they take more money away from us to fund private education? You better stand up, you better get active, you better vote, Nobody's going to come along and take care of you, folks. You're going to have to do it yourself. And there's one way to do it, and that's voting. Voting, voting, voting. There's an old East Texas saying, and this is going to be the last thing I'm going to say. Most politicians are as afraid of an educated voter as a possum is a hoe handle. They don't want you to know what's going on, and that's why they say things like, if you do this, we're going to end up like California. And you just go blithely down the way, and then they call a special session of emergency emergencies. And teacher health care is not on there. Retired teacher health care is not on there. How about a cost of living raise? When's the last time a retired teacher had one of those? That's not on that emergency list. And it never will be till we stand up for ourselves and don't think somebody's going to just float down from somewhere and do it for us. Thank y'all very much. You better vote. God bless Texas, and God bless every educator and teacher in the state. Thank you.
All right, I'm done talking, but I do want to introduce a good friend of mine, former teacher, elected official, and I'm probably going to embarrass him by asking him to come up here, but drove more than an hour to get here. Some of you know Gary Van Dever. I just wanted him to come up and say hi to the group. Gary, can you come up and say hi to everybody?
Well, thank you, Tim. Great words that Tim and Dr. Wilcox and everyone has already provided. And I just want to say it is so exciting to see you guys here in this number. I have been waiting my entire career. Well, actually, I had just begun my career when the Mark White incident happened. And I've been waiting the rest of my career for this to happen again. And I believe we are on the verge of seeing that happen again. And that is exciting. It is really exciting. It's especially exciting for those of us in the legislature who are trying to fight for education, for public education and public educators. And I want to tell you, I appreciate the compliments that Tim and others have given me, but I'm not the only one fighting for you. I want you to know, many of you, our East Texas delegation is pretty supportive of public education. And I want, as we are whipping ourselves up and getting ready to vote, I want us to be careful that we do it in an educated manner, that we do not allow ourselves to shoot our friends. You have friends. We have friends. I am a retired educator. I'm a member of Retired Teachers Association. We have friends in Austin. It's important that we know who those friends are and we protect them. And then we do what we have to do with those who are not friends to make the system work better, work efficiently, and be fair. That's really all we're asking. Let's be fair about this system. We have spent our entire careers helping the children, giving the children boosts, and most of those children are going to go on to make salaries that will overwhelm the salaries we make as educators, and we're okay with that. We're okay with giving them that opportunity, but let's be fair about it. Let's do what we promised. I noticed someone over here had a sign that said you can't change the rules. We're changing the rules. If you have retired, thank you. If you have retired in the last couple of years and you're under 65, you face a very different future to the one that was promised to you. That is unfair. That is unfair, and we have to change that. I didn't come here to speak to you. I just came here to let you know I support you, let you know that I care about you, let you know I'm praying for you as you enter those classrooms, and those of you who are retired, as you work to keep the system fair. There's going to be, I understand there's going to be a rally in Austin next week. Hope some of you can make it down. I look forward to seeing you there. I hope to be able to step out and take part in that. I hope to see you there. But more importantly, as so many have said, I won't be able to see you, but I hope I feel your presence at the polls, at the primary. I heard from someone the other day that said, if you only vote in the general election, I have a lottery ticket for last week's lottery I want to sell you. The game is over. The game is over if you only vote in the general election. Get out and vote. Continue to work hard. And again, thank you. Thank you so much for your career in education, and thank you for your support today. God bless.
I Could not agree more, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it. House Bill 3976 was filed by a guy named Trent Ashby from Lufkin. And some people have been contacting our office and saying, why did Trent Ashby file that bill? What happened? If he didn't file that bill, if he didn't lead on the issue, your teacher retirement system healthcare would have died. If it were not for Trent Ashby filing the bill and working as hard as he did, even though we didn't like all of the bill, if he didn't do it, it would have died. There would have been no health insurance at all. So I couldn't agree more with trying to protect our friends and being fair and knowing what's going on. So please know what's going on. Nobody out there probably wants to take this down right now, but I'm going to tell you right now. My personal cell phone number is 512-626-3268. 512-626-3268. Somebody will put it on Facebook, I'm sure. 512-626-3268. I wish giving my phone number to girls was that easy when I was in college. 512-626-3268. That is my cell phone number. If you want to know anything about your elected official, and you want to know, are they a supporter of education, I am more than happy to take your phone call. If you want to know anything about your teacher retirement system, I am more than happy to take your phone call. 512-626-3268. I really will now shut up. Thank you so much.
Okay, guys, you know what a hard time we had trying to get our kids sometimes to do their homework or even in their classroom work? You've got to do your homework. You've got to get you a program. You've got to know who the legislators are across the state, both representatives and senators. You've got to look at their voting records. You have relatives and colleagues and family and friends all across this state. Your influence is not confined to your district, okay? Get out there, educate yourselves, and push back. I was just sharing before this started with the policeman inside about Senator Brian Hughes has been charged with writing a bill that would prevent us from having union. It's illegal, people, for educators to belong to a union in Texas. Everybody knows this, right? I don't know where that word union came from, since we don't have one. We have professional associations, but they're going to exempt firefighters and policemen. So I don't know what that says about education in Texas. I always thought that we walked hand in hand with our brothers and sisters in law enforcement and in security and safety in our communities, that we were a part of one family. I find it interesting they're trying to divide us. And that was at Governor Abbott's recommendation, which also shocked me. So do your homework. All right. We just have a couple of more things. Hang with me because we want to get some pictures from this direction out in a little bit. But we have one more speaker. And as I was saying, you've got to educate yourselves to all of the education issues. We've got to become pro-education, not just our retirement insurance, not just protecting our pension, not just opposing vouchers. We've got to be educated to all the issues, and we've got to stand in solidarity, actives and retirees, together to fight for education in Texas. And I am going to have someone speak to you about small school funding. Right now, everybody who taught in a smaller school district, hold up your hand signs, yell, shout out. So you need to understand this issue, and brothers and sisters in the big school districts, we need you to be educated to this to help us out here. Now, I can tell you all kinds of wonderful things about Mike Gilbert, who is the superintendent of White Oak ISD. But I'll tell you this. Once upon a time, I had a troubled student. And this troubled student was addicted to meth. And she came to me and she wanted to commit herself. She was 18 years old, and I said, honey, we need to go to your parents. Her mother was her supplier. She said, I cannot go to my mother. I cannot go to my parents. I have no adult in my life but you and the registrar who stand by me. So I went to Mr. Gilbert's principal's office at that time. And when I went in with a heavy heart, I had on my little White Oak shirt and I had my little school keys that weighed 15 pounds. And I laid them on his principal desk and I leaned forward with my head in my hands and I said, here's the situation. Am I going to get fired? He stood up, took his school keys out of his pocket, put them next to mine, and said, when they take your keys, they'll take mine. I hope every single one of you had or have administrators in your career like I have been blessed with. Mike Gilbert.
Well, first I want to echo what everyone else has said in that I am so happy that you're here. This is a great turnout for a great cause, and you represent the best that this community, that this county, that this state has to offer. I'm fortunate to have spent my adult life working with the finest, high character people that there are on the planet, and that's educators. I'm also one that's guilty of saying that I've spent 36 years of my life to make sure that I didn't have a real job. And I don't say that like the person on Facebook, and I was not the one that made that quote, but I do say that from the standpoint that I can honestly tell you I've not spent very many days at work. I've spent my days at a place where I was needed, where I wanted to be, and where I was fulfilled on a regular basis. So I also understand the need to be brief, and I'm extremely qualified for this particular position. Many of you have been to an athletic banquet and had to go through all the sports. I was the baseball coach. So for 16 years, I was the last guy to speak, and everybody was ready to go. So I understand your feeling, and I won't keep you long. Small schools. Everybody's got a different idea of what a small school is. If you're in Katy ISD, then, Austin ISD can be a small school, But if you're in this area, it's really defined by the state as a school district that has less than 300 square miles and less than 1,600 students. That's important to know because in House District 7, that's 80% of the school districts that are represented. In Senate District 1, that's 63% or 60 of the school districts represented. And the small school penalty may be something that you've heard about, but I wanted to, like Dr. Wilcox said, just kind of dig a little deeper in that and let you know what the real impact is. This is an idea of when you talk to your legislators, you have specific things that you can talk to them about. And I'll sidetrack just for a minute and say, you need to talk to your legislators. You need to have a personal relationship with either the representative and senator that speak for you, or even, no offense, more importantly, the staffers that are in that office. Because the legislature is just like a school. You need to talk to the people that work for a living up there. The ones that are taking care of who gets to see Dr. Van Deaver, and who gets the phone message delivered. So you need to create those relationships. Anyway, back to where I was. Small school penalty. Small school penalty was put in place about 30 years ago. My understanding, it was basically a hard feelings between a group of legislators that didn't like the way someone voted in a rural East Texas area. I can't confirm that, but basically what they said was, fine, if you're less than 300 square miles and you have less than 1,600 students, then we're going to take the multiplier for a portion of the funding and we're going to decrease it by 38%. That actual number is 0.0004, decreased to 0.0025 for the mathematicians in the room. But I can tell you what it means to the 80% of the schools in House District 7. It's $4.6 million that those school districts don't get. And in Senate District 1, for the 60 school districts that are involved, it's $37.5 million that don't go into your local schools. To make that a little bit more personal, White Oak ISD, where I have the pleasure of serving, our funding is decreased by a little over $300,000 every year by that percentage. That would mean a lot to us when it comes to putting our budget together. But to make it a little more personal for some of our friends that are close by, for Ore City ISD, for New Diana ISD, that figure is closer to $800,000 per year that they don't get to put into their budget. And if you know anything about any of our school districts, you know that that would make a difference. So these are things you can talk about. Now I will tell you this, both Jay Dean and Brian Hughes have supported the removal of the small school penalty in the past, and we need to continue to encourage them to do so, because their attentions are spread along a lot of issues, but we need them to fight for those things. And I think Tim Lee said something to me that resounded as much as any, and that is the fact that, you know, a legislator, a person in Austin, can be a lot braver if he's got 1.3 million people standing and covering his back. And we need to make sure that we're doing that for our people so that they can be brave for us. I'm gonna finish up. You know, like I said, I was gonna be brief about this, but I'm gonna finish up with something that I've done for my entire school career. It's a real cliche type thing, but I've always taught kids when I was in the classroom and when I was a building principal, and even where I am now when I have the opportunity to visit with kids, is to just, and you know, to the age that I am, for some of y'all I'd be your kid, but for a lot of you you'd be mine. I'd tell you this, you know, choices have consequences. We've told kids that for a long time. You spend your life making good choices, there's a better than average chance that the consequences you get will be good. You spend your time making bad choices, there's a better than average chance that your life experiences and choices, you know, the things that happen to you will be bad. And then just a little bit of an effort of constructive criticism of us, and Dr. Wilcox touched on this too. We've not been making some good choices when it comes to being politically active. We've not made good choices when it comes to making sure that our voices are heard, our concerns are heard, and that we hold people accountable for addressing those issues. And so I'm asking that we do better than that. Like I said before, I'm extremely excited with the number of people that are here today. You put one of these things together, it may be 4 folks and it may be 400. I think we're closer to the second number. And I will tell you that I'm greatly pleased that you're here. But this can't be it. You know, it can't stop with you checking the box that I went to a rally and I held up a sign and you know, you can't assume or even depend on the fact that elected officials as a corporate body will do what's in your best interest. And so I'm asking you to keep going. If you can't be in Austin, fine, but you can be on social media. You can address the issues that are, you know, you need to follow the sites that have this information out here. You know, you need TexasISD.com is a good place. All of the websites that are, you know, you put in Friends of Texas Public Schools, you know, you put anything that says support of Texas Public Schools, and you'll get some quality information to act on. And then you make sure that your legislators hear what you're having to say. They do listen. Numbers matter to them. Votes matter to them. You know, we need to get back to where our legislators are about being statesmen instead of spending all their time worried about being reelected. I'm going to tell you that I'm so glad for Dr. Van Deaver to be here, and being a former superintendent and knowing the life that he led there, and then him choosing to go to Austin and be a legislator and living the life that he is there. I can tell you from the places that I go, he's always there, and it's greatly appreciated. You know, I find our offices and staff members for our Senate district and our House district, they're ready to listen, but they need to hear from more of us. They need to hear it more often. And they need to hear a very clear expectation of what's going to take place if our concerns aren't met. Now, you know, there's some positive in some of the bills that have been put together for this special session, but I'm already concerned about the volume because I don't think you can go through them all in 30 days. So, you know, we're kind of back to there. But I'm going to finish by just, you know, saying one more time how much I appreciate you. In White Oak ISD, we talk a lot about being difference makers. You know, we talk to our kids about being difference makers. Do things in your life that are good for other people. There are no greater difference makers than there are standing on this lawn and sitting around this courtyard today. You make a difference in the lives of the kids in your classroom. By making a difference in the lives of your kids in your classroom, it multiplies exponentially to the community around you and to the state in such a way that, you know, the Texas public school system and the local systems that you're involved with are the difference makers in this community. So I'm greatly honored to be a part of the Texas public schools and be with the finest group of people that I know walk the face of the earth. So thank you for your time and thank you so much for being here.
Again, I want to thank you, Dr. Van Dever. I want to thank Senator Hughes for having a representative here. When Brian Hughes was starting out as a congressman, I was one of his education consultants and worked closely with him. And I believe that he can hear our story if we use our voices, and that's what we've got to do. In fact, his chief of staff is one of my most beloved former students. I want to thank everyone for being here. I want to thank my 90-year-old mother, who was a school secretary, for putting on her red shirt and coming. Still a member of TRTA. Okay, final remarks. This rally wouldn't be possible without your dedication and determination. You got to do your homework, boys and girls. We especially want to express our deepest appreciation to Gregg County Judge Bill Stout and the right arm of his office, Diane Pearson, taught her kids. They ensured we had this time, this place, to get our message out. I want to thank Kenny Corbell and Scott Stagner of White Oak ISD for helping bring in the water, helping set up tables, the Oil Patch TRTA and Longview Retired Teachers Association Unit 1 for coming and carrying some of the load. For our Texas Retired Teachers Association Director, Tim Lee, God bless him, not only just to make the time, y'all, he had to drive up, he had to drive up I-35 to get here. I mean, anybody who drives I-35 is the same, or crazy. Obviously, he shared a lot of information with you. Good superintendents are a blessing, and to have so many represented here today speaks to their commitment to their districts, their staffs, and their students. You are a gift. We especially want to thank Mike Gilbert and James Wilcox. There's a group that I particularly want to thank because they're the group that inspired this rally. Nacogdoches Corps, where are you? They held a rally in Nacogdoches at their courthouse. I saw the news story and I thought, why aren't we doing that? And dadgummit, if I hadn't talked with one of them the very first years that I taught school, and she found me and she told me what to do and how to do it, and here we are. Thank you, Nacogdoches. I know that we have teachers from all over. I know we have them from Mount Pleasant. I know we have them from the Lamar Delta District 8 group. I don't know all the groups that are here because I haven't seen the registration sheets, and I know I'm going to leave some of you out, but God bless you for coming. I want you to remember this, and I want all the photographers to come up here for a picture that I want for some newspapers, and I want y'all facing the audience, the photographers. You are a profession, people. that are, this profession is based on family. And that is what we have here today from all over the region. We are a family. It is only beginning. Each and every one of you need to contact your state representatives, your senators, and then get your former students to start contacting theirs. I figure I've taught between about 4,000 and 6,000 kids, including the dual credit classes I taught. Use your influence, people. Stand up for your health care benefits. Stand up to protect your pension. Stand up to support funded salary increases for teachers. Stand up for the small schools. Stand against vouchers that would not require private schools to adhere to the same standards you have to adhere to. We haven't had a cost of living raise in 16 years, retired teachers. About time we had one. Representative Darby out of San Angelo has 2 bills up, 76 and 80. One calls for a cost of living increase for retired teachers. You might want to look up Representative Darby's bills and see who you can work with him in the coalition. The future of the profession, the legacy of the profession is in our hands. More importantly, people, it's in our votes. It is in our votes. Do not forget that. I want you to stand up for yourselves right now. I want you to hold your signs up. I want you to stand up and be counted, and let's get some pictures for those newspapers. I have a pledge of 25 newspapers that are going to carry these pictures. Y'all look excited. Y'all look excited. Okay, one last thing so you can share all of this. All of this has been live streamed on the Gladewater Mirror Facebook, where it will remain recorded, and you can share it to your teacher groups, to your Facebooks, and all over. So share the message across the state. Use that voice. Thank you for coming.
And where do I sign in?
There's a table over there and a table over there.
This one right here? Sir, this one right here?
Yes, ma'am.
She has